Hello BookTube, my name is Juan. I am just one reader. I am very excited because this is the first time that I actually have like a proper lighting setup. I have a ring light in front of me. I am wearing a microphone. So am I a real booktuber now? I don't know. Anyway, it's just fun. It's just fun. Anyway, today I will be answering the why haven't I read these books yet tag, which is a tag that was, I think, started by a channel that I really enjoy watching, Rekindled Reader. So the first question or prompt is, what is a classic book that you haven't read yet and why? And for this, I am going with good old Charles Dickens, and this is not just any Charles Dickens, this is the Charles Dickens that I know will probably be my favorite. For some reason, I have this weird fantasy in my mind that not only will this be my favorite Dickens, but like one of my favorite books of all time. Like that's how high my expectations of this book are. And this is, of course, Bleak House. This beautiful copy, which is an Everyman's Library edition that I've owned for a few years now, and I haven't honestly plucked up the courage to read this book or to even start reading the first chapter even. It's just one of those situations, where you know that it's a book that it has a really high chance to become one of your favorites, and that's why it's so intimidating. Also, it is intimidating just on its own. This is Charles Dickens' kind of masterpiece. It's the longest and the most complex, and it's Donna Tartt's favorite Charles Dickens book, and I adore Donna Tartt, but for some reason I keep thinking if Donna Tartt considers this to be the best Dickens, this is gonna be hard. The second prompt is, what is a general fiction book that you haven't read yet and why? And I chose two different options. This one is maybe not strictly like general fiction, like literary fiction, but I'm counting it for this. And this is In the House Upon the Dirt, Between the Lake and the Woods by Matt Bell. And this was a recommendation from Chris from the channel Chris Bookish Cauldron, one of my favorite channels ever. And I just really love his taste. I completely trust Chris in terms of his reading recommendations and his taste and everything. The thing is, I started reading this book sometime in the pandemic, God knows when, I don't really remember, but I don't know if it was that I wasn't in the right headspace or what, but it just felt like nonsense to me. Good nonsense, I will give you that. The kind of nonsense that you feel is sort of lurid and strange and dreamlike and poetic and very immersive, but maybe I think that's it. That's why I wasn't really in the right frame of mind to be reading something as weird and bizarre as this. So I just put it off. I put it back on the shelf and I never tried it again. But I know, again, just like with Bleak House, I know that when I do read this book, I will probably really enjoy it, because if Chris really loved it, the chances that I will too are quite high. And then the other choice for this prompt is Belle Fleur by Joyce Carol Oates, a great author whose writing style I always admire for different reasons, because she writes in different styles in pretty much all of her books, at least from what I've read so far by her. But this is a book that I've been meaning to get to, and it's supposed to be like American Gothic, like a Gothic style, following this family, the Belflairs, it's supposed to be like this eccentric family living in this like manor house. The cover, I think, says a lot. The thing is, people say that this book is quite complicated because there's a lot of like magical realism or very like whimsical things in this book. Also, it's a long book. It's like over 700 pages long, which is, it's not impossible, but people say that the writing style in this particular novel is pretty complex, and you have to really like put in a lot of time and effort, which I'm not against. I'm just like waiting to see when is the right time to read this. Prompt number 3 is a nonfiction book that you haven't read yet, and why. And this is a book that I got at the Met Opera in New York City. This is Great Singers on Great Singing by Jerome Hines. And this is a compilation of different texts and sort of like classes or lessons or explanations on vocal technique delivered by great singers. For example, we have Franco Corelli, Placido Domingo, Marilyn Horne, Cheryl Milnes, Luciano Pavarotti. We got Beverly Sills and Joan Sutherland. And this book is just like screaming, you gotta read me. But again, this is a book that is pretty much one of its kind. Like, this is the only book that I can think of or that I know of that is great singing explained by this caliber, this cadre of singers. So, and these are all dead, of course, except Domingo. Placido Domingo is still alive and thriving. Actually, he just sang here in Mexico City a few weeks ago. Anyway, so the thing with this book is I don't want to read it because once I read it, it'll be over. I will never have the idea of reading this anymore in the future. It'll just be gone. That's just like weird. Do you ever get that feeling? I don't want to read a book because I know that it's the only book of its kind, really. It's like an endangered species or something. So once I read that book, it'll be over in my fantasy, in my mind. It's a weird thought to have, but I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in that. Question 4 is a genre book. And I chose, again, 2 options for this. The first one, the very easy pick, is The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. The reason why I haven't read The Silmarillion like from back to back is I started reading this again in the pandemic. What was I even thinking? Trying to read The Silmarillion in the pandemic with all of the anxieties and all of the like depressive state of the pandemic. I was not in the right mind frame again. The thing is, you have to really know what you're getting into when you're getting into the Silmarillion. If you are expecting something like a narrative of any sort or like a novel, this is just not it. You have to know what the Silmarillion is before you actually pick it up. Otherwise, you're in for a lifetime of hell and suffering. I'm so dramatic. Oh my God, it's the ring light. I feel like I have an audience now. Anyway, the thing with the Silmarillion is I knew what I was getting into, and still I was not prepared enough. I DNF'd it without really meaning to DNF it. I just sort of lost interest. I got interested in some other things, in some other books, and in some other things in life, and I just casually put it back on the shelf. But this time around, I am watching the Rings of Power TV show on Amazon Prime, which is becoming, episode by episode, a train wreck. It's becoming worse by the episode, I swear. The first episode, I loved. The second episode, third one, fourth one, I was really bored. I was so bored, I actually went on Amazon and I ended up buying a lot of Robin Hood books just because I was so bored. I think unconsciously I was like, I need to experience something better than this show, and so I got Robin Hood books, which of course are going to be 1,000 times better than anything in the Rings of Power. But anyway, so I have been watching that not so great show, and I want to read the OG Silmarillion now. And the other book that I chose for this prompt is The Infamous and Famous S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst. If you know what this book is about, you know why I haven't read it yet, because this is like a sci-fi, weird, bizarro books. It's like very hard to explain. Essentially, it's like a meta book. It's a book within a book. It's a book disguised as another book, and then there's like layers of narrative. There's like, it's very hard to actually pick up the physical book because there's like little papers and postcards and notes and things in there. So I don't want to pick it up anywhere outside of my home because, things will start falling out of the book and then it'll be a train wreck. But yeah, just to give you an example, this is what the book looks like on the inside. It's very, very, very like convoluted, contrived. There's like writing in the margins, and then there's like pieces of paper like folded in. So this is like a chore. It might be one of the best books that I will ever read in my life. Maybe not, I don't know. But I will have to wait until I have like some sort of long vacation before I actually get into this endeavor. And finally, prompt number 5, the book that you have owned for the longest time, but you still haven't read. And this is very, very easy for me, just because it is one of those books that I know I will never read. This book is here in my home. It has been for many years, purely for decorative reasons. Well, not purely decorative, also nostalgia. The story behind this book is that when I was young, like really young, like 7 or 8, my dad, who has never read any books whatsoever in his life, he never liked reading and he never did read anything for his own pleasure. I mean, he didn't really know what to do with me. I mean, just think about someone who doesn't like reading and doesn't know anything about reading or fiction, having a kid as me, having a son who loves devouring books. It was tough. I mean, if I had been a soccer player or a music player or something, like an artist, something else, maybe he would have had a bigger chance. But my father really didn't know what to do with me as a reader. It was like, what do I do with this child? Who is this? Why is this kid reading in my house? And so for some reason, he got me this magnificent, beautiful copy of Moby Dick in English. I was a 7-year-old Mexican boy, could barely know the verb to be in English, and he got me Moby Dick, which is kind of sweet and very cute. It's a very beautiful story. It's a story about my dad that I will forever treasure and remember with a smile on my face, because it really speaks to what his thought process was. Like, I want to get him something huge. I want to get him something important. He probably like searched for, like big books or important books or beautiful books, and he got me this beautiful edition, which is a what is this? This is a book, a beautifully put together book by the Easton Press. Beautiful edition of Moby Dick, but I've never wanted to read this book. However, maybe someday I will, and that day I will have like this huge emotional moment, like reading the book that my dad got me when I was so young and starting to read, and I was reading things like Harry Potter, and my dad got me Moby Dick. And finally, I would have to tag some people, but the problem is this is a book tag that I think has been answered by many people out there, so I'm just gonna leave a very open tag. If you want to do this tag and you haven't done this tag, please make a video and let me know so that I can go and check out your answers. My name is Juan. I am just one reader, your boy from Mexico City. Thanks for watching. I will see you on the next video. And please let me know what you thought of the microphone, the ring light. Did it work? Did it improve the quality? in any way, shape, or form, thank you.